Hello and welcome back to Carrying On, a personal look at record collecting by me, Julian, based here in Thailand. And today I'm doing something a little bit different. I'm myth busting today. I've got some vinyl collecting and audiophile myths which I'd like to bust. Now, this is just my personal opinion. I'm having a bit of fun today. Don't take it too seriously, but feel free to add your own comments below afterwards. Let's see if you agree or disagree with me on some of the some myths around records and listening to records and audiophiles in general. So my first one is record cleaners. Come on, they're not really needed, are they? They're unnecessary, surely. Do we need to spend thousands of dollars on these machines to sonically clean our vinyl? I'm not convinced. I've never used one, so I maybe there'll be some Damascene conversion at some point. But really, I remember years ago someone saying that the best way to clean your records is to play them. And I've always kind of believed that. The needle in the groove is a pretty good way to pick up any dust. And then you can clean that needle, give it a blow, get the dust off. And of course, I use a microfiber cloth to clean my records, try to not get them too dusty, try to put them back in the dust cover, and store them correctly. But I find if I do that, I have very few records that I look at and are genuinely dirty. And I genuinely find a bit of a microfiber cloth, maybe a bit of, a bit of cleaning fluid or even a bit of saliva can help. A microfiber cloth, play the record, and wow, I'm fine. And I believe most people who play records are fine. This is an audiophile and vinyl collector thing, the record cleaning machine, which for me, it's unnecessary. Just enjoy playing your records. My next one is say no to plastic covers. Why do we need to add to the mountains of plastic which are made in the world? I mean, the vinyl record itself already takes quite a bit of energy and is using plastics and vinyl to make the records. Do we really have to put the record in another plastic sheath as well? Which for me kind of ruins the tactile experience of the record. I like holding the cardboard. I like looking at the artwork, not through a plastic sheen, which is reflecting all the time. I like to look at it on the card, on the cardboard. Open up a gatefold without, having a record tucked in behind. No, I like to have the record put back in the sleeve and put back in the record in the way it's meant to be. I don't like all this messing around with these, with these plastic covers. Uh, uh, I like records in their natural state. That's just my personal opinion. Also, I live in Thailand in a humid country. Perhaps that colors me slightly, but I don't want, sticky plastic covers, maybe in a humid climate, sticking together and maybe affecting the sleeve and possibly even the vinyl. I've heard some of these polymers on these plastic covers. And in what's it been? 15 years I've had my records here in Thailand. Never had any problems with humidity or records sticking together or damaged sleeves by keeping them in their natural card sleeve state. So there you go. That's my tuppence worth. Don't use a load of extra plastic. Chuck them away. My next one is turn up the sub. There were some audiophiles who believed, we shouldn't use subwoofers, or maybe you can use a subwoofer, but it has to be turned down really low, and you're not allowed to kind of hear it in the system. If you're hearing the sub, oh no, that's not proper audiophile listening. Well, yeah, I take your point. You don't want a huge booming sub which dominates all the sound and takes away from the high end and the mids. Fine, but I quite like to have some for some music in particular, dub, reggae, electronica, house music. Yeah, it's nice to just to hear it. Turn up that sub, enjoy it. don't get too hung up about, oh no, I can't hear the subwoofer. That would mean I'm not getting a balanced sound. If you like the sound of a sub, then you turn it up. Don't let anyone tell you you can't turn up the sub and shake the room a bit. You know, as I said, you want to maybe pull the subwoofer out, from the wall, get it in the right place in the room. I actually put a bung in the back of my subwoofer at the moment. It just makes that bass tighter and a bit quicker and leaner. I like that. Still like it loud though. I still like to turn it up on certain music. Um, and also like acoustic jazz. Acoustic jazz. Sometimes that bass, that double bass, is quite low down in the mix. You want to be able to crank it up. And certainly for me, I definitely always want a subwoofer in my system because I just like that flexibility of going to the back of the sub and tweaking it and getting the right bass and turning it up if I need to. So yeah, don't be afraid. Turn up the sub. My next one is related to this really, and it's that tone controls and equalizers are great. I love tone controls on amplifiers. I don't get the kind of snobbish thing. Oh, if you're using tone controls, that's not proper hi-fi. You're not getting the pure signal. And it's like, I just think that's a load of baloney, really. Once you get to a certain level of amplifier, adding the flexibility of being able to turn up the bass and turn up the treble on recordings, which might be low again, like acoustic jazz, might be low in the bass, or might be a bit tame in the treble. We have lots of recordings like that, and just the flexibility of just being able to turn a knob, a tactile knob on your amplifier to improve that. You don't want to use it all the time. You can turn them back to zero, and if you want a more balanced sound, fine. But why not have the flexibility? Personally, on my system, I often have bass and treble to the max because I that's the sound I like. I like a bit of a smile sound. Yeah, I still like to hear the mids, of course, but on my system, I want to hear the details of the highs. Sometimes I don't need all the bass, and I will tweak that down, but I almost never turn down that treble. Maybe because my system is a little bit on the warmer side. I've got a warmer system, and I want to hear that as much of the treble as I can. And by having the tone controls, it allows me to do that, and I really appreciate that. I can't imagine having a hi-fi where I couldn't have any control over bass treble. I personally I need that, and don't let anyone tell you you can't have that. And that isn't a real hi-fi if you do have that. And the same with equalizers. I mean, I also use Spotify, and my Bluetooth Spotify sounds sounds fantastic to be honest. And I also play CDs and vinyl. But yeah, and on the iPad app for Spotify, I have equalizers, and no one ever seems to talk about this. But you have a set of great equalizers, which really changes the sound in the Spotify app. If you have Spotify Premium on an iPad, wow, go into the settings, go to the equalizers. You can change the bass, mids, and trebles a huge amount, and it's great fun. I love kind of tweaking that, and I've tweaked it now to a sound which I really like generally. And yeah, it makes a big difference. Don't let anyone tell you that equalizers are not hi-fi. If you like tweaking sound, then you go for it, and that's still hi-fi. Um, my next one is yeah related to Spotify actually, and it's that high-res audio, high-resolution audio. Really just marketing hype, isn't it? Do we really? I mean, how good are our ears? How much detail can we hear beyond CD quality? Well, I've been heard, not much, maybe nothing. But really, the CD is as much as our ear can take in for audio detail. And CDs in the right system, a CD and CD player can sound fantastic with the right DAC, can sound, as good as anyone could wish for, really. And high res, well, yeah, I mean, these is it just marketing? Are companies, like Tidal, like Apple Music, really? Are they? Is high res, playing high res files through a Bluetooth speaker, really? I mean, what's the point of that? Now, maybe in a real high-end hi-fi system, worth tens of thousands of pounds, you can maybe hear that difference, maybe. But but a lot of people, our ears can only hear so much detail, and CDs and records and vinyl are good enough. So if you're getting CD, or to be honest, even on Spotify, we're not getting CD quality, and the Bluetooth Spotify sounds pretty good. It really does, especially if you can tweak it in the equalizers. It's pretty good. So yeah, yeah, equalizers can make a big difference to that. And high res audio marketing hype. My last one is about vintage audio. Now I love audio hi-fi that looks vintage. I have Wharfdale Super Denton speakers. I have a Leak Stereo 230, which if you know your hi-fi, like they are vintage looking. They have like mahogany uh, uh, and uh, and walnut finishes. Walnut for the Stereo 230, and mahogany on the Wolfdale Super Denton speakers. But and they look fantastic. They're really well finished. They look beautiful. They look vintage. They fit in nicely with my furniture in my house. But I bought them new, and they have new technology. They have my Leak Stereo S230 has Bluetooth. It has, of course, I can link it to my CD and a record player too. But it has Bluetooth. It's modern. It's up to date, and it sounds great. It has all the modern tech in there, and my speakers do too. You have Kevlar woofers. It's a three-way speaker with a really interesting design. And I love that kind of marriage of reliable, high technology, high performance with vintage looks. Best of both worlds for me. Real vintage audio, yeah, for me, in my experience, that can be a big letdown. You think, the speakers in the 1970s, you know, even if they were new, compared to the quality of the new speakers we get today, just are not there. They do not have the control in the bass. They do not have the detail in the treble, and turned up loud, they can really start to fall apart. Some of these vintage speakers. I mean, literally, but also in terms of their soundstage and imaging, and the amplifiers. Well, you that's also true for them as well. They lack power, but also they break down. They need recapping, or they need parts changing. They can be very difficult to get the parts. And is it really worth it? Now, if it's your hobby, if that's your hobby and that's your thing, you've got a workshop and you love messing around, and if things break down, hey, it's just another fun thing to do on your weekend. If like me, it's really all about the music, and just set up, play, and go, and not have to think about ever repairing it. You just want great quality sound with hi-fi equipment that looks great. I would do not recommend going down the vintage audio route. Buy stuff if like me you do still love the vintage style, like I do, like with my watches, for example, and some of the things I like in my house, then go for new speakers, new amplifiers that have that vintage look. And there's plenty of them on the market. I've mentioned Wharfdale and Leek, but that's just two, of course. There are others as well that really produce reliable, really great products. Often around that kind of $1,000, £1,000 kind of area, which really, really well finished products. So yeah, there we go. Six six myths busted in my opinion. This is just what I think. It's just for fun, really. You can have a different opinion, and you're free to put it there in the comments down below. Maybe you agree with me, and I find one or two other supporters of my at times controversial opinions. But I don't think they're that controversial, really. But they are just my opinions. This is the way that I've gone about it, and it's worked for me. I'm happy in the hobby here as a yeah, as an audiophile and a vinyl collector. This is how I balance it. This is how I kind of uh, um, this is how it works for me in my daily life. So yeah, as I said, leave a comment down below. What's your opinion? How do you work around this hobby so you don't become too crazy? What what tips and advice do you have to people coming into this hobby? Right, so that's it from me, Julian, for today. Thank you for watching the Carrying On channel again. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.